Well, hey, so in keeping with the unintended theme of this channel, today's video is another comedy of errors. Today was intended to be one of those fancy, cool unboxing, how-to install videos that you see on this Chamberlain side mount garage door opener. I had recorded all of the unboxing, all of the pieces, parts, went through the install instructions, did like a pretty in-depth, which I don't normally do, like an in-depth how-to. And I think I realize now why I don't really do that, because well, I kind of stink at it. I still do this all on my phone. So I ran out of space. That's it. I ran out of space. I had to delete some old footage. So in the process of deleting some old footage that I thought I was done with, I deleted old footage that, well, I wasn't done with. And I deleted all of the unboxing and all of the install of that particular part of it, that box up there. The reality is, actually, it's not that big a deal from an install perspective. And putting that thing on the wall is actually like pretty straightforward. You just mount it on that bar and then screw it to the wall. It goes where it goes. So the only thing you have to make sure of, and there's instructions in there, make sure you have enough length of bar outside of the pulley up there, so you have enough room for it to sit off the rail. And it's close enough, far enough from the wall and from the ceiling. So you got to have some dimensions also from the outside wall, which you can see there's plenty of space there. So you just have to mount it, slide it onto the bar with this sleeve. One side goes on the bar, then one side goes on a little nipple that sticks out the side. And then you mount this to the wall. This should go into studs. One of those is the lag bolt that goes into a stud, but that was the very end of the wood there behind it. Just too short. So that last one's on a bit of isn't an anchor, which isn't ideal. In fact, I tell you not to, but so far it's holding up. You can see it's dimpled the drywall a little bit here. I'll explain why here in a second. That's not because of the current install. It's because of the way this bar was misshapen before. Anyway, once you get this installed, then you start doing all the component parts of it, and that's what we'll watch from here. All right, so fast forward a couple, weeks on this project with the garage door opener. The bar at the top was not installed. The torsion bar was not, or tension bar, torsion bar. The bar across the top was not installed right. There's a bearing in the end here where the pulleys are, one down there, that allows it to, rotate nice and smoothly. And there's supposed to be one in this connection here with the torsion springs. There was not. And so this bar had this big loop, and it was making the opener, when I move the door, just all over the place. Now it's gonna wobble a little because none of these bars are dead straight, but this was really bad. Like, it was pulling the screws out of the wall. So we took it apart. By the way, if you've never done one of these torsion springs and you're thinking about doing it yourself, tap the brakes a minute, look it up. These things are under a lot of tension, and it can be really dangerous. So I had some help from a family member who knew what they were doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but he did. And so we took this apart, and I found a bearing online. The bar that's on the inside of that bracket was rubbing here on this plate, and it had ground a groove probably, man, it had to be a 32nd of an inch. And this is a steel bar. I mean, steel, it's like a tube, like a pipe. So it's not solid. And so there's a point at which that would have ground all the way through and snapped it. So anyway, I got a bearing, we got the bearing in. It runs a lot smoother now. It doesn't wobble so much. It's not grinding inside. I mean, it was metal. Well, you can see There's some of the staining from the metal pieces as we took it apart. It still wobbles a little, and I guess that's gonna be normal. So we're gonna move on and cross our fingers and pray a little bit and hope it works. So the next step is pretty simply you attach your string here. This is your pull, like a big garage, the overhead garage opener. You got that pull cord, it disconnects it. This is the disconnect for this. So it's disconnected now. So that's connected. It says to put this rope through and tie it with a overhand knot. I tied it with an overhand knot and it pulled through this loop. I tried with an overhand knot with a loop inside the knot and it just comes unraveled. The overhand knot is just a stop. So I did a double overhand knot and that seems to be big enough to not pull through that loop. And that disconnects your door so you can open the door manually if you need to. So you disconnect that for now and we move on to the next step, which is to install the power door lock. So this is gonna replace the manual locks that are on these doors. So that's the lock mechanism. That pumps out, goes through, prevents the roller from coming up. So you just gotta find a place to mount it. So they give you this template sticker and it says mount approximately 3-inch distance between center of a door roller and the hole for the power door lock bolt. So we want to install it. They say the third roller up is usually the best place. That's this one. We're gonna install it, hopefully, somewhere in there. It bolts right to the rail. So it looks like I'll have to either find a spot, probably tap a hole. Looks like one hole will be right there. That'll work. Let's tap a hole up here. Open this spot up here for that top hole. Okay, so I actually read that wrong. That says not within, but with approximately a 3-inch distance from the bolt. A 3-inch distance. This is the top. Here, before I hit the wall mount bracket on my third roller. So there's 1, 2, 3. So there's that bracket, and that's just not gonna fit. So I'm gonna go to the second roller, which should be fine. So it's gotta be within 10 feet. That does say within. Within. Must be within 10 feet. So that's because that's all the cord you've got. So I'm gonna mount it down here on the second roller instead. And then I can get that 3-inch distance it wants. And looks like I can leverage holes that are already in here. And I may not have to tap any holes. I'll measure that to make sure. Lock is installed. I had to kind of grind out that hole just a little bigger and drill it out just a little bit. It didn't exactly line up and it was cross-threading. So just had to widen that one a little, but that just pops out and locks it. So now to the next step. So next you got to install the tension monitor, cable tension monitor. And what this does is it detects if there's slack in the cable and will stop the door from closing. So I want to make sure there's tension on this. The spring over here is, largely held in tension with this cable that wraps around this pulley into the door. So the weight of the door is pulling on that spring, keeps everything balanced. I had to block it out because I have this recess in here. So I just put a 2x4 in, and then it's just, make sure you have tension. Run the wire up, get it out of the way of everything, and it then routes into, up to the bottom, into this little port here. This is the plug for the lock down there. And then I just tied the cable up as excess cable. I just tied it up, tucked it back behind it. So this is just the control panel, right? This is just the button, open the door, some other controls in here, some fanciness. So you just, they give you a big spool of wire and you run red to red, white to white. It's important to make sure you get red to red and white to white. So, and then you're just gonna run it out one of the sides or out the top probably. So the first thing you're gonna do, you figure where you want to put it. So I'm gonna put it here. Let me back up a little. You can see where I'm going here. Right inside the door. Just kind of snug it up between the shelves. There'll be some trim here, so I gotta make sure I give enough room for trim, for door trim. So just kind of center it in here. So you're just gonna figure where you want it. You drill a hole for this bottom one, put a screw in. You set it down in that screw. And then if you open this up, there's your other hole. Mark it, a nail or pencil or whatever. Just take this back off, drill your other hole, and put this back on. You can drive your screw through. And then you just run this wire up and across and back over there. So I had to go up, and it's kind of hard to see with the glare of those lights, but you can see the wire just kind of drapes across. And I had just, I didn't cut any wire. I had just enough wire to get there. So one of the goals of this project was to not have anything dangling up in the ceiling. So I don't love this, but I like the location here. I just don't like the wire. So I'm gonna set it up this way, use it for a little bit, see how I like it. It's not a big deal. They're quick connect fittings. So they just push these pins in and releases the wires. So it's not a huge deal. I can get, I could go to a store and buy 50 feet or something of bell wire and redo it if I want. So, and then I can run it up in the ceiling. But for now, at least we'll get it installed. Okay, so the next step on the instructions anyway is install this remote light. Since there's no overhead door, motor, whatever, you don't have a light on it. So they have this remote light you can install. I'm gonna leave it off for now for a couple reasons. One, where I would want to install it, there's a car in the way above it, and I can't get up there right now. And I don't want to fiddle with moving the car. Also, not sure, again, I'm not sure I want something hanging down below the ceiling. So it's gonna hang down like that far, like maybe about hand width. So, 5 inches or so. And it's gonna be hanging like on this empty joist here because I got lights over here. I got a lot of light in here, I don't need the light. Now I realize when you pull a car in here, particularly in the dark, it'd be dark in here, but it's not a huge deal. And I think I'm gonna leave it off for now. If I think that later on, I wish I had it, I move cars in and out of here enough in the dark and I'm like, oh dang, wish I had a light. Well, then I'll mount it up there. But for now, I'm gonna leave it clean and leave it off. So the next step then, we're skipping that step, is to mount the sensors, the safety sensors. So they go down here at the bottom. Anywhere from like 1 to 6 inches. It's got a bracket that installs on the rail. So there's one on this side and a corresponding one on that side. And then that keeps, you've seen that where you try to close your garage door, run out the garage door, and you trip it with your leg and it stops and goes back up. And so then you got to kind of do a little like hop, like Indiana Jones style, like walk over the laser. Yeah, it's that thing, and it won't run without it. So you can't leave it off, you can't bypass it, you have to have it, and it has to be connected. So it's kind of a pain, but it keeps the garage door from crushing you, which is probably good. All right, so the sensors are installed, and just run the wire up the wall here. And then do the same thing on the other side. Just run up the wall. You can see it comes up and across the top. It comes down and then it comes to the bottom here. And you gotta twist the wires together and then use a little screwdriver. Stick that there. A little screwdriver, push this in. You can do it with a fingernail too if you want, but a little tiny screwdriver is easier. And it opens up those little doors, little clips. Put those wires in, plug it in. Now, we should have lights here. You got amber here, you got green over there. Let's see if there's green going there. Green. So now we gotta align those. There's an alignment process to get those to match up. And we'll do that next and make sure that the two talk to each other. So it's actually by dumb luck. I didn't even have to align these. I got them right on the first try. I mean, what are the odds of that? So the green or the amber LED means it's got power and it's sending. We go over here to the green LED. This is the receiver. And a steady green light means it's receiving a signal from over there. So you can see if I put my hand in front, the green LED goes out. It's receiving steady green. For once, in this little project, something going my way. It's pretty cool. So now that it's hooked up, I gotta start testing travel limits, and I need to take these locks off. So this old lock here runs off the handle. In an old garage door, you've seen this before. All right, the handle, it's got a lock mechanism here with a key on the outside. When you turn this handle, it pulls those chains and pulls those locks out of there. Little latch there. So I gotta take these off and these off. Otherwise, this will constantly keep the door from opening. All right, so I got that lock bracket off, and this doesn't touch. So I think I can leave that, and that way this all stays on here and doesn't, I don't really want to mess with the chain. I might take it off later because I'm probably going to put insulation in here, and that'll be easier without that chain in the way, but that's not a big deal. This doesn't really touch anything, so it'll glide freely up. So I'm going to leave those on for now and just take these little lock brackets off. Just a little 1/2 inch. There it goes. Okay, so now that will flow freely. All right, we're installed. There's a learn process for height and the opening height and the closing depth, I guess, and then another learning process for how much force it takes to go up and down, so it doesn't catch. Like if it takes a little extra force to move it, and it thinks it's caught on something and stops the door, both up and down. So it's a little bit of a process. It took me 4 or 5 tries to get it right. It's interesting. It kind of slow closes, slow opens. When it gets to the top, it kind of slows down, so it doesn't go real fast. And the same thing when you close it. Comes to the bottom here, it starts to slow down, and then just inches closed until it's done. And then the lock resets. That clicking you heard was the lock coming in. So it's electronic lock. So that pushes that plunger out and keeps this wheel from going up. Got a remote program. We gotta program the other vehicles we're gonna be putting in here. So this is the panel. This is the button for the light. Again, I didn't install the light as a motion sensor, which is pretty cool. So you walk in the door, the light would kick on. And then all your learning buttons and stuff are in here. So you just kind of want to go in the manual and look and see how everything works and make sure you do your learning process. And then the flap is just the button that pushes this. You see this little nub here, pushes this little button here. All right, so we got it installed. We're all done. Nice not having anything hanging up here, you know? Gotta hit his head on or roof on or whatever. Probably man hours wise, it was maybe 3 hours total. And I suspect if I hadn't had so much trouble, I could have done it faster. So totally by myself, didn't need any extra hands. Most everything that, I needed, tools to install and a wire stripper and basic, home improvement type tools, nothing special. Pretty do it yourself. I made it complicated a couple of times, but it was easy to correct. I had some issues with the door we had to fix. And then, we had some other stuff going on. We had some family in town, so we took a break for a couple of weeks and visit with them. So got back to it today, got it all done. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Follow instructions, and if I can do it, shoot, you can do it. So that's all for today. Thanks for stopping by. Hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time here at Rhino's Garage.